Did you know from next season the Premier League is moving away from profit and sustainability rules and onto squad cost ratio? Currently, under PSR, clubs are only allowed to lose a maximum of 105 million over a 3-year period. And financial fair play was brought in 2013 in an attempt to make the league much fairer and create more competition. But now clubs and fans are all pretty much aligned that is no longer the case. And along comes SCR, where clubs will now, from next season, only be allowed to spend 85% of their annual revenue on squad costs. This is similar to what UEFA have been running for the past few years. However, they've been decreasing the ratio of revenue. 90% in year 1, 80% in year 2, and now from this season it'll be 70% and possibly for the foreseeable future. The Kansas Sports future, meanwhile, is up to you, as we hope to reach 500 subscribers by the start of the new season. So if you enjoyed this video and any others that we've made, please consider liking and subscribing. For most Premier League clubs in Europe, they're already working within that UEFA squad cost ratio rule, except Chelsea, who broke it by 2% this year. But in contrast to UEFA, the Premier League is also bringing in an anchoring system designed to make the competition more equal. Because in fairness, the 2023-24 Premier League winners Manchester City, who brought in a revenue of around 720 million, under the new SCR rules, they'd be allowed to spend well over 600 million on squad cost rules. Yet a team like Newcastle, who made 320 million in revenue in 23-24, would only be allowed to spend up to around 280 million of that on squad costs. So to counter that, an anchor will be brought in where clubs will only be allowed to spend 5 times the amount as much as the lowest earning club from broadcast and prize money rights. So in this case, in 2023-24, that was Sheffield United, who made 110 million, meaning clubs would only have 550 million to spend, but only if it doesn't exceed their 85% squad ratio. So this would only impact Manchester City and Manchester United. If you're starting to think, well, how is this any different then if the clubs with higher revenues aren't going to be affected? Well, a big thing you have to remember is the bigger clubs will spend a lot more on wages and agent fees compared to Newcastle and Aston Villa. Manchester City and Chelsea in particular are both known to be very generous with their agent fees. But if all of this is next season, then why am I making a video about it this summer? Well, because I think it's actually affecting transfers. A lot of the talk at the end of the season was how the Club World Cup would affect the transfer window because they would need to bring players in for the competition. And yes, well, that was true. City and Chelsea aren't the only clubs in the Premier League looking to spend money big early. Liverpool have spent the most so far and aren't looking at slowing down. And it's possible that's solely down to the Reds not really doing anything last summer and needing reinforcements after winning the Premier League title. And while that's true, it's likely Liverpool have spent early because all of these deals so far will account towards last year's financial period, which ended on June 30th, and now we'll probably see them make some sales before making new signings, which will go on to the next year's financial period. But it's also interesting that they're willing to spend so much money, especially on big targets such as Florian Wirtz, and there doesn't really seem to be a shutdown of any rumours to Alexander Isak. In the past, we may have seen Liverpool spread their surgery over a couple of seasons, or looking at alternative options to keep their squad costs down, particularly in the 2018 summer when they were about to sign Nabil Fekir but pulled out of the deal at the last minute to sign Alisson Becker instead, and then they signed Xherdan Shaqiri as a Fekir alternative because at the time they didn't need an A-star attacker, they needed the world-class goalkeeper. And yes, Liverpool will need to sell to keep spending, but we'll probably see them have an outlay of around 150 million by the end of the summer, and maybe even more if they do sign Isak. Newcastle themselves seem to be willing to spend more money this year. Again, they do have some headroom with PSR after making the Champions League last year, but they don't really seem to be keen on selling either. Just recently, there was reports of a triple bid for João Pedro, Anthony Elanga and James Trafford, when they also really need a centre-back too. This again seems like a team looking to do as much business as they can this year ahead of the SCR next year. Now, controversially, a big question is, should Newcastle actually be looking to sell Isak this summer due to the impending SCR next year? He's one of the best strikers in the world, so you can understand why Newcastle aren't exactly willing to part ways with him this summer. But if they're looking to sign 3 players this summer without a sale, they would have a lot of flexibility by selling Isak because they'd be able to sign a replacement, have money left over, and still be able to complete those 3 deals that they're looking to do. Comparing it to Liverpool, it could be a Coutinho moment for Newcastle, especially if things aren't actually going to get any easier under SCR. Manchester United are also looking to spend big on targets this summer. Arsenal too have made no bounds about their intent this year, with signing 3 players already. Smart signings, to be fair, with Zubimendi, Norgard and Kepa, all under 70 million. But there's now talks of Eze, and they still want to sign a striker and a left winger. So you could easily see their transfer expenditure by the end of the summer being around 250 million on outgoings. Aston Villa and Tottenham will be interesting cases this year. Aston Villa have just sold their women's team to comply with PSR, and Tottenham obviously made the Champions League after winning the Europa League. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about their transfer business under the potential SCR next season, or if they're not really going to think about that because of where they need to get to this season. Obviously, most of the league won't really care about SCR this season. It's only coming into effect next year, and they still have tight financial concerns anyway. But I thought it was quite interesting to look at maybe why some clubs, especially someone like Liverpool, are going about their business in the way that they are, and if it does actually have anything to do with SCR next season. A big case, again, will be quite interesting this summer will be how the promoted teams go about their business. The last 2 summers, we've seen the promoted teams get relegated. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about it, because they know that SCR is coming in next season, especially after we saw Nottingham Forest actually try and spend above their means to stay in the league. Even though they got a points deduction, it's worked out well for them in the end. As usual, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you've agreed or maybe disagreed with anything I've said, then please feel free to comment down below. But for now, thank you for watching and goodbye.